Here are the final 5 nominees for Player's Voice, a 100% fan-voted award. Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, Dispatch, Genshin Impact, Hollow Knight Silksong, and Wuthering Waves. This year, the fans selected Wuthering Waves as the winner. Congratulations.
Gacha games are most of the time games with a free-to-play model.
$3.99.
And in some shape or form have a system in place where you can basically gamble for a certain item or character. There are a lot of different arguments all throughout the internet on whether or not the gacha system is gambling, but by definition, gambling is the activity of playing games of chance for money or of betting on the outcome of future events such as the results of races or games. In these gacha games, you're playing a game of chance to obtain your desired item or character by spending in-game currencies. Whether you obtain the character or not, nothing of in real life value is being lost like money, unless you're spending that real money to purchase more of these in-game currencies. If you're not spending that money, all you're realistically losing is time, which, to be fair, is why you were playing that video game in the first place, to waste time and to have fun. That's how most hobbies function in the first place. Gambling doesn't mean you have to have the chance to win real-life currencies. The simple act of indulging in the chance to get something by investing something into it is gambling. In the case of gacha games, you're spending in-game currencies, or in worst-case scenario, your real-life money to quote-unquote win that desired item or character into specific games. Many could argue that it's not gambling if you're guaranteed to get the said character or item in 80 or 160 tries. However, you miss a key detail in this argument. When a gacha gamer is using the system, they're not going in thinking, okay, let's spend all my hard-earned 25,000 gems to get this item. Your mindset in this case would be, how less can I spend? How early can I obtain this item? How early can I win this item and save my currencies for the next gacha item? You're still investing your in-game currency that you earned through giving these games your time into a chance of getting said items from the gacha, which most of the time you get in 65 or 140 times in games where the gacha mechanic has 50-50 and a hard pity of 80 in place. To better understand why it is gambling, I'll first give you an explanation of how this specific system works, because different gacha games utilize a different method of rates and gacha system. Although in recent times the more popular gacha games are utilizing the same system, the similar system in most cases, with only the number being tweaked in cases. Basically, you will have a banner where, let's say, you have Sonic featured as a limited unit that you can pull for. This banner lasts for, let's say, 4 weeks, cycling every month to bring in a new limited unit or do a rerun of one of the previous units. You'd have to spend in-game currencies in these banners to get Sonic as your playable unit, or his weapon from his weapon banner if that exists. The way this works is, in most modern popular gacha games, you'd have to make at worst 80 attempts to get a unit or item of the limited rarity, and in most cases it's not guaranteed to be the featured Sonic unit that I mentioned. There's a pool of standard premium units who have been in the game typically from the beginning, or they were added to the pool gradually as the game has continued its course. If you unfortunately don't get Sonic from your 80 tries and get a premium unit from the standard pool, now the game triggers the condition that your next premium unit is guaranteed to be the featured unit, which in this case is Sonic. So in the worst case scenario, you'd have to make 160 tries to get Sonic, guaranteed as one of your playable characters in your account. And while you're drowning in that misery, someone in Japan probably got Sonic 10 times consecutively in their first 10 consecutive summons. Because of course, in order to create an incentive for players to spend more time into these gacha banners, these games have a dupe system in place for characters which basically give you access to stats and mechanics that were otherwise locked behind a paywall. I'm sure you now understand why the narrative of "it's not gacha if it's guaranteed" is just pure balderdash. Not to mention that the fact that there are gacha games still existing and in development that don't have any pity system in place, those games are even more of karate level slot machines. My first ever gacha game, Dragon Ball Legends for example, has multiple rarity of units and items in place, the most premium rarity of which is ultra characters. Let's have a quick quiz. How many tries would you need to guarantee a copy of Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Majin Vegeta in Dragon Ball Legends? Option 1, 80, option 2, 20, option 3, 200, and option 4, 1000. The answer is none of the above. There's no guarantee, and there is a non-zero chance that you won't ever get a copy of Vegeta even after 1,000 tries. And with how scarce the currency of this game is, that is also a PvP game where characters get power crept, like meat left out to rot in the room temperature. It further creates a pressurizing environment for players to spend real-life money to buy these in-game currencies, to have a mere shot at getting even one copy of these characters. Not even the dupes, which, by the way, thanks to this game being PvP, dupes are also of insane value because they increase your stats and unlock some mechanics. Unless you're someone who doesn't care about competitive PvP, meta and stuff, and you're okay with not getting the character with your free-to-play currencies, this won't affect you much, but that's like a very small minority of the player base of this game. One of the creators that I watch, not because I like DB Legends, but because I just generally vibe with them and also put on as background noise while I'm doing other stuff, is Virgil. If you want to watch Dragon Ball Legends content, PvP streams, you can follow him. If not for the game, just for the vibes. But the reason why I'm bringing him up is because not too long ago, he spent about 1,000 US dollars to get one singular copy of a Legends limited rarity unit, Kefla. You can buy a copy of Legends limited unit using the medals you get after 50 tries in the gacha banners, but this is solely talking about obtaining the unit from the gacha. If this isn't bad enough, let's talk about the ultra rarity Majin Vegeta, who came out in this game last year. Virgil spent about 90k chrono crystals, which is the in-game currency of this game, to get one singular copy of him. 94,900 chrono crystals with all current sales in place in this game would cost you at least 1,000 USD. And if you don't have any sales or have used up all sales, then the raw price of these 95,000 chrono crystals would cost you around 2,000 US dollars. Basically double the price of the sales. In my opinion, if I'm giving a game 200 Silk Songs worth of money, I should get 200 Silk Songs worth of content and quality, which, let alone Dragon Ball Legends, none of the other gacha games in the market provide even 1/10 of. The highest quality gacha game in the market currently is Wuthering Waves. If I'm not wrong, it's one of the most generous in terms of providing the players with currencies, high quality animations, free gacha attempts offered throughout the lifespan of the game so far, storytelling that's on par with some of the better non-gacha games. Story itself, however, is still ass though, in my opinion at least, but in terms of a gacha game, it is one of, if not the best. But in the grand schemes of things, it's still the same shit from the same butsicle called gacha. And to be honest, if it weren't a gacha, it could be a pretty decent game to try out, because gacha games need to make sure the latest item or character is sought after with every new update. These games make the entire game centered around the system. For example, let's say you're running on the same speed with pretty similar animations with a starting cast of characters in the overworld, collecting things in the same speed and amounts, clearing endgame modes and such. Now, to incentivize the player into spending their in-game currency into the gacha for the latest unit, they put in place things in the character's kit that give you at least one advantage in an aspect of the game. Like maybe this character gives you the ability to run faster or walk on the water, or they deal more damage in certain conditions of their environment, conditions that are placed in endgame modes, making it faster for you to clear these modes if you're using this limited character. Making said characters focal points of stories, seductive women in most cases, so the player feels a parasocial bond to these PNGs to further incentivize them into trying to get these characters through gacha. And with a time limit of maybe 2 to 4 weeks, they try to generate a FOMO that, oh, if you don't get them, they're gonna go away forever. Which typically they don't go away forever. They come back in like 4 to 6 months in most games. This focus on incentivizing gacha makes for various aspects for the game to not feel as natural as it should feel. With the knowledge, oh god, if I had X unit, I would have done this so much faster, lingering in your subconscious, it inevitably makes your experience more pale and boring in quite a few cases. This wasn't the case for me, as I was always content with just my favorite character in my roster, because usually I'd only have one character that I really like, who would be a must-have for me, and in most cases they'd be character from the standard pool. There could be a counter-argument that many games, regardless of gacha, have environments in place in combat that cater to specific characters to incentivize their usage and variety in combat. And while that is certainly true, the argument falls flat when you can obtain and use that character by just simply playing the game in those cases, unlike in these gacha games where more often than not you have to spend in-game currencies to obtain them. And if you somehow don't have enough currency to get that character within the certain time period, while these challenges aren't impossible, they're still not as easily doable as they would be with that character, which only serves to create more of a FOMO effect. This could make for a fun challenge for some players, being able to clear challenges without units that were made specifically for them, and that can be satisfying. But most of the time, players want to experience something new, that fresh new unit with cooler animations and playstyles, and without that access, gameplay could feel a bit dull. As for me, the reason why I personally became bored out of gacha games was frankly just the poor overall quality of these games, like Wuthering Waves, which I used to be a fan of for the first half of the year. I have my fair share of criticisms for the game and personal preferences that only make this game even more unenjoyable and boring to me. For example, the endgame modes of this game just do not feel fun to me. I don't have any concrete criticism to give towards this since I didn't even bother to explore it after the first few times. It's basically just not my cup of tea in general. The story is honestly lackluster. No matter what you tell me, I'll never agree that Wuthering Waves story is something insanely special in gacha gaming, because it's simply not. The storytelling is definitely on par with some good non-gacha games in the industry, but there are far better and compelling stories in the same industry of gacha games as well. The method of open world exploration is fun, but at the same time the exploration isn't fun to me. I know it sounds confusing, but what I mean to say is the flying, running, and different usage of skills to navigate around the world, the act of it is fun, but just the exploration of the open world is not. Getting chests, doing puzzles around the world, killing echoes to grind for good stats on echoes, which I personally never did because I mostly played for the story, all of it overall feels very bland. This could very well just be a me issue entirely, by the way. And if you're someone who's never played gacha games, I encourage you to check out Wuthering Waves and share your own opinions. This aspect just gets worse in the other gacha games though. Every single gacha game is genuinely lackluster and boring in terms of quality and the content they offer for the ludicrous amount of money they earn every single month. The top gacha games are earning anywhere between $15 to $100 million every single month, and they continue to provide the most lackluster content, events, and somehow the entire player base just gracefully accepts it and praises it, and the spenders drop hundreds and thousands of dollars into the game on every single monthly or weekly update. Clear Obscure Expedition 33, the 2025 Game of the Year, had a budget of less than $10 million. It's speculated that Hollow Knight Silksong's development had cost around $4 to $6 million. Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild had a speculated development cost of $120 million. These development costs, all three of these games together, would take only 1 month to make for one of the biggest gacha game companies, Hoyoverse. But in its place, they continue to deliver the most lackluster experiences a video game can ever give you. While it is true that for free games they do offer decent content, but with the magnitude of revenue these games generate every month, I think it's fair to expect at least half the value of content in these games that I'm asking for, I guess. I don't want anyone to think that they cannot enjoy their Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves, that it is completely disallowed to like their games. You can enjoy whatever game you enjoy. Your personal preference is your business. I, as an individual, have no rights to dictate what you should and shouldn't enjoy, but I sure as hell can give you my opinion that what you're enjoying is ass. But not the good kind of ass, the doo-doo kind of ass. Getting rid of gacha games completely was the best decision I've ever made, I think, and I've decided ever since I quit the last gacha game I was playing that I'd never step foot into a gacha game ever again, and that still holds true. Gacha games are inherently predatory. No matter how good the game may be, no matter if the developers themselves are the second coming of Jesus, the system itself is predatory, and by designing games around the system, you get a lackluster, lazy, cash grab versions of games which could otherwise be of a much higher quality game, or they could also just die out, because for some of these games, the reason they are able to stay afloat in the first place is because of this monitor system in place, because it gives them a shit ton of money. These games have conditioned their audience so much so that they're willing to bot player votes in game awards, because they know very well that if the game wins a relatively well-valued award, they'll get gacha pulls. Anyone who says, oh, but they didn't say they'd give us rewards if they won, is spitting out complete barnacles. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. If the game wins that award, they're giving out polls to show gratitude. I don't use Twitter anymore, so let me know if I'm wrong about this, but I can guarantee you that Wuthering Waves has given out at least a 10 poll as a gratitude for winning the Player's Choice Award. If you don't think the gacha fanbase voted for Wuthering Waves anticipating that reward, and also because they just want to spite their rival fanbase of Genshin Impact over Silksong, the game that literally crashed major online video game stores, by the way. I feel sorry for how deeply you've been conditioned into having the gacha slap superiority mindset. Sunk cost fallacy is a tale told that is as old as time. When talking about why these gacha games manage to retain such big player bases despite their poorer quality, the loud part of the community that you see voting and having obnoxious arguments about which of their predatory game is better at stealing more of their money is the most annoying part of the community. Most of the normal people that play these games probably don't even know that these games are gacha. They just play it once every few days for a few minutes when new patches roll out and move on with their life, because at the end of the day it's still a free game. If not for sunk cost fallacy, normal players stick around for the pure convenience of it, but the difference is that they're aware that these games are not some insane hits. Oh, this game's pretty cool for a free one. It's their mindset. They know these games don't come anywhere close in terms of quality to Clair Obscur Expedition 33 or Hollow Knight Silksong, and that is why I believe that if you enjoy playing these games, you're free to do so. You as a consumer have every right to enjoy your product, even if it is told to be bad by others. As long as you enjoy it, you're chill. My gripe with these specific products are because of the gacha mechanics specifically, because again, the gacha monetization system in itself is very predatory and makes for these games to have poorer quality than it could have had without these gacha mechanics. And this is also why I have high hopes for a free-to-play game like Ananta, which has confirmed to not utilize this gacha system. Just hoping the monetization system in place for the game isn't too horrendous, but that's for us to judge when the game actually comes out.